And I think here we are getting ready to post our first win of the year, and now I've got to do it all over again.
Just so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Great vibes.
It's 1995, and I got my first ride in a real race car. Beforehand, I had been driving race-prepared street cars on dirt tracks, quarter mile, third mile, whatever, dirt tracks. And so in 1995, I started driving with a guy named Rob Young as my crew chief. He's a former IMCA national champion in open wheel modifieds. Great guy, been good friends ever since. So I ended up in his seat, and we're going to do the whole 1995 season together, sponsored by Martin Tire Centers in Muncie. And I thought, okay, we got this. And he said, listen, this is the first time you've been in a high-performance, purpose-built race car, and it's going to be rough. And that was an understatement. I think I underperformed all year. I think there were a couple of accidents that I didn't cause, but a better driver could have avoided them. And extra work, extra money, it's just you're a young driver, you're learning. And Rob's coaching me along, and I'm trying to do the best I can to listen, but there's only so much knowledge you can put in somebody's head. Eventually they have to get into the job. So we go all year, a couple of top tens, but I mean, nothing really to brag about. And we get toward the end of the year, and we go to a place called Benton County Speedway in northwestern Indiana. And for some reason, the car likes the track, I like the track. There's not a lot of banking there, and you can't hardly even tell where the corners are. You're almost drifting the car constantly. Well, it was a finesse track, and it felt like a dirt track to me. And so we did real well. And we go out there and finish 7th in the feature one night, which is just unheard of for us. We hadn't run well all year. And so I think this is actually turning out pretty well. I think we want to go back. And so we went back a couple, maybe 3 or 4 times, and actually ran pretty well there. And it's almost the end of the year. I think we had 1 or 2 races left in the season, and we go back for their regular Saturday night show. And Rob can't make it. And I tell him, look, we're running out of season. I found a place where I'm actually doing pretty good. This is a great place for me to learn. And I want to go back. And he, for whatever reason, he couldn't make it that night. It was just impossible. And he said, I'll tell you what, I'll set the car up for you. And I said, how are you going to do that? You're not even there. He goes, I know the track. I've been around these cars for a long time. I'll set the car up for you sight unseen. And he goes, all you have to do is make fine adjustments at the racetrack. And I'm like, okay, do it. So we load up the car. Me, my dad, Nelson, and my wife, Alice, we load up, and we're the only 3 people. No other crew with us that night. It's short track racing, And so we show up at Benton County Speedway, and we start, I think, 8th or something like that, and qualified pretty well, ran pretty good in practice. And, you get into the night, and you think, I don't know if we can win this thing, but I think we can have a decent night out of this. And so through the early phases of the day, qualifying and practice and preliminaries, we're tinkering with the car, and I keep telling Dad, I think we can go a little bit faster. If I can tighten the car up, maybe we can just go a little faster. And he said, no, we'll just mess it up. And I'm like, okay, can we do tire pressures? And he goes, okay, we'll mess with tire pressures a little. And I said, I think we can adjust ride height on the left rear. I think we can adjust stagger a little bit. And he said, no, because you got a good race car. He goes, you've just made the few tiniest changes to just leave the car alone and go drive it. So I think we start 7th or 8th that night. So, we start fairly well up in the field, but there's still plenty of cars out there. And Dad's running a VHS camera because this is 1995. And he's standing up on the trailer, and he's shooting as best he can from the inside of the racetrack. And my wife is standing at the other side of the trailer, so it's a little bit of a seesaw. And so the green flag drops and cars are running pretty good, and I pass one guy on the outside and then pass another guy, and before you know it, I'm up like fourth. And my wife starts going, yeah, starts cheering. You see her hands like this. And because Dad, you know, he keeps, my wife's here, and he keeps following me around the track from the inside of the track, doing circles while he's standing there with his VCR. And every time he goes past her, she's sitting here cheering. And so then the guy in front of me ends up sliding sideways in turn 4 or whatever, and I get underneath him. And then late in the race, there's another car that actually just dropped out with some kind of mechanical problems, and I pass one more guy, and we're leading the race. And at this point, Alice just starts going nuts. She was a cheerleader in high school. She's jumping up and down, throwing her hands in the air. And Dad, every time she jumps, the camera's going bang, 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 bang like this, because she's on the other side of the trailer, yelling and hollering. You can't hear anything because of this deafening roar. These are 450 horsepower monster, you know, V8s for short tracks anyway. And then I've got an insurmountable lead. And in my head, I'm just saying, look, it's Saturday night at the fairgrounds. Just chill out, do your thing, hit your marks, get to the end. And they throw a yellow flag with 2 laps to go. And I'm like, no, please, this could be my whole year. You know, we've had such a hard year. You know, the learning curve of these cars was such a chore. And I think here we are getting ready to post our first win of the year. And now I've got to do it all over again. So they throw the yellow flag, everything calms down, and the yellow flag goes on forever. And I don't know what they had to clean up. It's some kind of a crash further back in the field. I don't know what they had to clean up, but it took forever. So I'm sitting there thinking, I can't blow the restart. All I have to do is hang on for a couple of laps, and we're good. So this is the different kind of shift in this car. There were 2 shift knobs. And in second gear, you had to reach down and pull this one back toward you for second gear. Then when the green flag came out, you got to have pretty good dexterity. You have to take your hand and push this one forward, then rock the palm of your hand over onto the other gear shift while the clutch is still pushed in, and push it up into third, let out of the clutch, and do it all in time for the checkered flag. So the green flag comes out, and I had rehearsed it in my mind over and over and over, and I thought, I'm going to jump them. I'm going to do the best I can. And so, sure enough, green flag drops. I hit second gear, make a clean shift into third, believe it or not, drop it into fourth, going in turn 1 and 2. And I look behind me, and the guy's just falling back. And that was the first moment, the first time in my life when I realized I'm the fastest guy out here. I've never experienced this before. He had every chance, and he's fallen behind. Well, there's only one possible remaining conclusion. Nobody can catch me. And that was this overwhelming thought in my mind that for the first time in my life, we have the best team, car, engine, and driver combination on the racetrack, and there's just nothing anyone can do about it. And so we went on, we won the race. I still have the videotape that my dad took. And it shows my wife just jumping up and down and screaming. And you can see it's like my best ever racing memory. So that was a lot of fun. It saved our entire 1995 season. It let me know what it takes to start winning races, which we've been fortunate to do quite a bit since then. And it's one of those things where you look back at it, and it's a race at a short track that nobody else will ever remember. The world will never even know what happened, but you and your family were there. They had the VCR, and you've got that memory forever, and the trophy still sits in my trophy case in my office right behind my desk.
Just so good.
Yeah.
So good.
Great vibe.